Hi everyone, this is Jason Holland from Travel Simplicity. I I hope you're being inspired. I hope you are coming up with some ideas of some amazing places around the world, and that you're enjoying meeting some of my friends. This morning, I'm joined by a good friend of mine in Colombia. His name is Jairo, and I wanted to hear some stories of his. I wanted to hear, who he is and what he loves of his home country. So, good morning, Jairo. Good to have you with us.
Hey there, Jason. Good morning. Good to have you as well.
You, when I first turned it on, you said something about the background here, um,
Yeah, yeah,
and
I
this,
noticed. It's really cool. You have been using your own pictures as backgrounds for these chats. It's really cool. I actually remember your personal cards that you
yeah.
always use your own images as the background is just amazing. And obviously this one I love. It's a beautiful mural in Candelaria in downtown Bogota, and it's talking about indigenous story and the emeralds, and it's just very cool. And I love the colors. I gotta admit, I'm just dying for colors. So it's a really cool mural you got there.
It's just such an amazing mural, and the downtown is filled with these beautiful pieces of street art. Which the history behind it is interesting in and of itself. We don't need to get into that at the time,
Yeah.
but um, just this almost this warring, this tension between the government and the artists, and ultimately what has happened is through this tension, there has been some absolutely amazing, beautiful works of art that are just literally on the street for you to see, and you can even try your hand right at making your own.
Yeah.
Uh, that
Yeah, I do remember that, right?
was
You know what? What
awesome.
I also do like a lot, do you have the Colombian flag on the other side?
Yeah,
So
yeah, yep. You can
just
see it
right
right
there.
there.
Yeah. It's really cool because it's something that has been happening just recently. For a long time we didn't have like this, let's say, national pride or something like that.
Yeah.
And nowadays you move across the city and you start seeing all these big flags showing that people is getting more connected and more okay about what we are and with our country and stuff. It's something I really like a lot also.
Well, even that. Correct me if I'm wrong, but even that area where this picture was taken, a couple years ago, was an area that you wouldn't want to visit.
Yeah, totally. It's very interesting because actually, downtown is the very heart of the city. But for a long time, nearby downtown, nearby where all the major square and all these administrative buildings are, there used to be a lot of drug dealing and delinquency and stuff. So it wasn't really nice for people to go there, even for us, I gotta admit. I mean, maybe let's say 10, 15 years ago, I was a little concerned about going to downtown, but it's amazing how things have changed so far. I mean, even to me, I gotta admit, I'm a historian. I used to work with other things. Used to work with schools, museums. If you have asked me 10, 15 years ago if I picture myself working with tourism, I will tell you, like, who would like to come here in the first place? and and it's incredible. I mean, it has been such a very cool thing start doing this because it also had teach me to see my own city and my own country with different eyes. With I think it's just amazing. And honestly, I will if a friend of mine had asked me, "Hey, let's take a stroll across Candelaria and downtown," I will be 10 years ago. I'll be like, well, maybe we catch up later, something
And
like
now
that.
yeah, and
So
now you have this amazing place, this amazing part of your downtown in Bogota, which is fantastic. I love
yeah.
it. So I'm excited to hear some of your stories. So what do you have for us this morning?
Okay, cool. Well, I was thinking about something, this, and it's using my Instagram. We have talked about this before. My Instagram is like my personal memory. It's funny. I'm a historian, but I have a terrible memory, so I need images to help me to get in context about what we do. And I have also some of them that I have separate from my Instagram that I don't share with everyone, and I have them also here. So we'll switch between my Instagram and
Okay.
a couple pictures I have
Sound
around.
good.
Okay. So let me just, I'm sharing my screen right now. Uh, Here we go. Can you see it?
Yes, I can. Yep. Got your
Cool.
Instagram up.
Well, this is, as I was mentioning, my personal Instagram, and it's funny. You were talking about is this is a picture. It's August 2016. It's almost 4 years now, and it's when I was starting to work with tourism. I had no idea back in the day what this was. I just saw this beautiful mural standing on on the side of this building here, and I thought it was amazing to have that kind of color in downtown, and you can see a little bit the mountains in the background.
Hmm.
So it was really catching to me. But it's funny. This is a mural that was done by a guy that is from Europe, and he came to Colombia. And what he painted there was like national symbols, starting with the Andean condor and things about Bogota and stuff like that. But it's funny, he knew my city better than I did. You can see by the caption, I only put places on the description of the thing. Later on, I noticed who he was and what he was doing. But I really love this picture, and that's why I filter it to highlight the colors on the mural. It's just amazing. So the thing, as I was mentioning, I used to work in downtown with museums and stuff.
You
Actually,
were at the
here,
Botero, is that right?
yeah, yeah. Actually, this is the inside of the Botero Museum. This is also from 2016. It's a sunny day inside the museum, and it's funny. I mean, the artwork there, it's amazing. It's one of the most complete art collections in the country. But what really got me in the first place was the structure in itself. I used to go there, and when I started working there, I used to spend a lot of time just watching, for example, this beautiful inside courtyard. That is, it's a reconstruction. This is a house that was rebuilt in the 1950s, but they tried to keep the original idea, and the place is just amazing. You see all the architecture, the plants, the flowers. It's something that really attracts me here also, the variety of flowers. And even though
Peaceful.
the weather here in Bogota changes out of the blue, you have rain, hailstorms, and then sun again in the same day. But all this variety, all this diversity, the colors is something that really appeals me a lot. And I gotta admit, that's why I have this kind of pictures a lot here in my Instagram.
I could see
If you
why.
ask me, actually,
That's
my
it's peaceful, and you don't
yeah,
realize that either. You walk off the street, which is downtown, and then you're in this incredible courtyard with the colors and the flowers and everything, and it's really pretty.
yeah, I like it a lot. And as you mentioned, it applies especially for downtown, but I think all across the city and the country, there's a lot of contrasts and mixings.
Hmm.
And I find that really, really appealing. So, for example, just in front of that Botero Museum, you can find this beautiful church. This is the Candelaria Church. And if you look on the sides around this church, you will find colonial structures, but also very modern architecture and stuff. All the people walking, because that's the other thing with Bogota, and especially downtown. It's a place that you need to walk. Not only because it's beautiful, but also because the older section of the city wasn't planned to have cars. So streets are kind of narrow, and if you try to get in there with your car in rush hour, I mean, good luck with that.
You're not
So
going to go anywhere.
yeah, so it's a place you need to walk, and walking you can notice the people. Actually, you can see here in this picture, just in the lower section of it, you will see there's a street vendor right there with an umbrella in the corner. There's people chatting, there's people walking, and that's how the city goes. Actually, for us, especially when we travel outside the country, sometimes it's difficult because you start using your car a lot, and you're like, hey, I want to walk, I want to explore.
That was one of the, you know what? I see that picture. I think of ants.
Yeah,
I
yeah,
think of eating the big ants.
yeah. It's kind of funny. Well, Bogota is a city that is a mixing of everything that's across the country. And especially with all this tourism happening, people, things from other places in the country started coming here.
Uh-huh.
Actually, the ants are from the northeast of Colombia, and I told you they eat that there as is peanuts. You know, it's crazy. They just
I have to
roast
say,
them by pounds, and
there,
uh,
so you're so yeah, to be clear, you're basically walking along the street and you come up on these vendors and they're advertising these big ass ants.
yeah. And it's funny because actually that's how we call them here, big ass ants. In Spanish, we call them hormigas culonas. And it's really funny. Actually, I have tried them several times, but I gotta admit, it's a little far beyond my taste. But it's amazing to see that kind of things happening. And especially here because, you know, we have a very difficult 90s and early 2000s, well, from the 80s actually. So obviously see all this change happening in the country is amazing, and being able to find things like that, like the big ass ants or these hats, the traditional Colombian hats from the Caribbean coast
Right.
here in in Bogota, and everything. It's just happening at the same time. So it's really amazing, and for me it's wonderful because it's also very educational. I told you before, I used to believe that I knew my city and my country, but just when I started working with tourism, I noticed I had no idea about it, you know. So I need to start interacting more, traveling more to really know what it was all about. So it's amazing.
That's great.
And that's also why I have it here. Let me just check. Oh, this is
You
me.
gotta tell us about that. Is it you?
So, well, my birthday it's November 19, and normally when I was younger, I used to share like a big party with friends and stuff.
Okay.
But especially that year, yeah, I wasn't really able to do that. So I decided to share something very personal on my Instagram. I Nowadays my Instagram is 50% personal, 50% travel and job. But that day I decided to share this one. So I love this one because this is my when I was 1 year old, you know, and my mom she kept this for a long time, and she loved that because I'm smiling and I'm eating some grapes. Actually, I have some grapes in my hand, and I decided also to kind of make an homage to her because she's a lovely lady, and I owe them everything I am. So I just want to share that with my friends, and also I have some pictures with her around here. Let me just. This is her actually. One of
Wow.
the things that I started doing when I started working with tourism was also taking her to places that I started knowing. And for example, this is the when we were about to enter the botanical garden here in Bogota. And you can tell she's always smiling, and she's very amazing lady. Actually, if you don't mind, I have here
Okay.
a picture with her. This is 2012. Has been a while.
We could
And as you
measure
can
the years
tell,
by we
I,
could measure the years by looking at your hair.
yeah, I was about to mention that.
Mine
So
too. Mine just keeps going back. So
yeah, yeah, I know. So well, I did take advantage of it when I already had it, and that's why I used to, you know, paint it with colors and stuff. Well, I knew it
celebrate it
was
while you
fun.
have it.
Yeah. So this is 2012. That year, we went to the Caribbean coast. It was for me the first time traveling in a plane, so it was something special. And this is, for example, one of the places there in the Caribbean coast. It's the Tayrona National Park. It's one of my favorite places in the country for sure. It's
Most
a
people would
national park.
most people here probably wouldn't think of that being in Colombia.
Yeah, yeah, I know. And I gotta tell, we are really blessed. Our geography creates a very diverse country. We have access to both oceans. We have access also to the Caribbean. There's the Andean chain coming through the center of the country. We have flatlands in the east, the Amazon in the southeast. I mean, it's just crazy. It's gorgeous. And this is for
Well,
sure one of my favorites.
Bogota itself is at how many feet above sea level? It's It's pretty high.
And Bogota?
Yeah.
Yeah, Bogota, we are 8,600 feet above sea level,
That's
more or less. So yeah, we are kind of high. And this is funny now that you mentioned that, because normally here, traveling starts as a family thing. So normally is that your family decides to go to places, to go to visit other areas in the country. So we, the people from the mountain, love to go to the coast, because you have the sea, you have actually a warm weather. People in the coast says that they can identify people from the center of the country very easily, because we are the only ones wearing socks with our sandals. And that's how you identify a guy from Bogota in the coast,
Nice.
wearing the socks with the sandals and stuff like that. And people from the coast normally tries to go inside the country to the mountains and stuff, because it's the different thing,
Yeah. Yeah.
I have talking about the mountain. This is a site, Bogota's downtown. So you can see in the background there's the Montserrat Mountain. In the top of the mountain, you can see. Well, it was a cloudy day, but you can see there's the church, the
Uh-huh.
Montserrat Church on top. It's maybe the most traditional spot in the city. And actually, walking up there, I took this picture. I'm sharing with you here. Let me just uh, this one here.
Okay.
I was on my way up to the top of the mountain. So the top of the mountain is around 10,400 feet. So it's really high, but why we go up there is because of this. I mean, there you have a nice view on the city. It's a big, big plateau in the middle of the mountain, Bogota. And it's very big now. I mean, the city has something around 8 million inhabitants.
One,
So
it's huge. I mean, it sprawls out to the side. I mean, it's not real high, but it just goes on forever.
yeah, yeah. It is like that. It's a very low city. We are just starting to have our first skyscrapers. Actually, you can see them here in the
Mhm.
center of this picture. Well, it's my city. It's funny. I never noticed I was such an urban and mountain animal just as I started moving and traveling. I really love being in the city, but also the side of my family that comes from the countryside, because actually my mom, she came to the city when she was like 16, 18, maybe. That really connects me also.
Where was she before that?
Yeah, yeah, it's actually.
If she moved to the city, where was she?
Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was going actually to this picture. This is a very old picture also, but I put it here because this is my grandpa's farm.
Okay.
So that's 2 hours away from Bogota, and my grandpa had a lot of sugar cane and also coffee. So actually, this place you're seeing there, it's the place where you grind the sugar cane,
Hmm.
and there you extract the juice of the cane to produce something we call panela, or that Mexicans
Oh,
call
yeah.
piloncillo.
Okay.
There's like a brown, unrefined sugar. It's very popular here.
Miguel was making coffee with us the other day and was using
Yeah.
vanilla.
Oh, he used the vanilla. Oh,
Yeah,
cool.
he did.
Yeah, it's actually very common and very popular here. And she used to live here. It's a big family. It's a family of 12 actually.
Wow.
And that's also why a lot of families from countryside started moving to the cities in the 1940s and 50s, basically looking for better chances, better education, better jobs. But in my case, a big part of my family stayed in this farm, and they still are working with that, with the sugar cane. So even though I was mentioning I consider myself a very urban animal, I gotta admit a big part of myself is also connected with the countryside and with the mountains. You can see actually it's a very steep area where this farm is located. It's not like these big plateaus and stuff. It's mountains all around. So actually, it's not that far away from Bogota. It's just the fact that you need to go across the mountains. That's why it takes you a couple hours to make it there. And you move to the city, and I think that's very common with a lot of families here in Colombia. and especially Bogota, that is the capital city, to have all this migration happening. So families came to the city to try to get a better living, to get a better education and stuff, and that's the case of my family. And I like this one here. Uh, so remember the one with the Botero Museum? You just cross the door in the background, and
Yeah,
then you have this modern architecture just, a couple feet away from the old colonial house. It's just very cool, this one. And let me see, I have another lovely bit. Oh, that's also her. We
that's
were walking the mountains.
nice.
And as you see, it's very cloudy. Here, Bogota has a very changing weather. And
Oh, all right. You got to go here. You got to talk about here, go back, go scroll down a little bit. You got to talk about the one in the middle.
this one, well, it's a very typical game. I remember now that we played that together,
You
actually.
did. I had no idea what it was.
Well, this is funny. It's called tejo. Here in the description, there's the word tejo. And it's a very old game. Actually, the historians used to mention that it was already played by indigenous communities. So we're talking a couple centuries ago. The game already existed. And the thing is actually, as you can see, this is like a clay base. And it's like, this is a big triangle. It could be maybe a yard on each side. And that's around, let's say, maybe 15 yards from, there's two of them, one on each side. And each team do have tejos, that is like this metal disc that you have to throw at the other side. And the idea is trying to hit these little gunpowder triangles here
Uh-huh. Yeah.
and make them,
Don't let people miss the fact that you just said gunpowder.
yeah.
It's
Sorry,
like,
what's that?
because it's basically like horseshoes where
Yeah,
things blow up.
yeah. It's a metal ring. Originally, it was actually horseshoes. It's a metal ring here in the center, and you have the gunpowder triangles just on top of that metal ring.
Uh-huh.
So the idea is that you throw your disc from, as I mentioned, maybe 15, 20 yards away. And with your disc, you need to hit triangles and make them explode. That's the idea of the game. But honestly, and as you maybe notice, it's also an excuse for sharing with friends, having maybe a beer, eating something. And
AB.
well, it has some rules and stuff, but honestly, you just don't remember it. It's just excuse to have a good time. And
Yeah.
this is funny because
Anytime you take horseshoes and you add explosives into it, it's more exciting.
yeah, that's true. It's very fun. And
I would play horseshoes here if we added explosives into it.
okay. Well, that could be a good idea to have a little tejo and playground in the backyard or something. People will be like, "What's happening there?" you know. And this is funny. I kept this one because it was that year, 2017. I was already working with the museums, and a friend of mine was leaving the museum. He was an artist, and we make this joke because you had the clay and they were artists, so make a little sculpture and stuff. Like he just went and put his fingers in the center and make this smiley face. So it was like, actually, that's what the description goes for. Is like, well, like when you play tejo with artists and they, with the face and stuff, it's all about having fun and sharing with friends. It's really cool. And well, it's
Jairo,
also,
I appreciate it, my friend. That's it's special to talk with you. It's good to hear the stories. We're gonna have to do this again because I'm sure
oh, sure.
we could talk for a long time. But
Sure,
thank you for
sorry, I
being
didn't
with us,
notice we have been talking a lot.
and thank you for sharing a bit about your life there. It's an amazing country, and I look forward to having more of my friends and contacts and clients come down and be able to meet you in your beautiful country.
Thank you very much, Jason. I really appreciate it, and I really mean it. It's always amazing having people like you here, and we had a lot of stories actually. We didn't even mention parts of the trip we did together. Maybe next time we can talk about it.
Absolutely.
And well, looking forward to see you soon again, and we can keep this chat going. Okay,
I would like
thanks a lot for inviting me.